This is Let's Talk Big, the big read with Jane Berger and Jen Hazel. The Owens Community College Campus Big Read is taking place now and throughout the semester, with the goal of bringing awareness of different perspectives through books. Now, sharing passages, topics, and events related to the book are Director of Library Services, Jane Berger, and Professor of English, Jen Hazel.
Welcome to Let's Talk Big. I'm your host, Jen Hazel, and I have with me my co-host, Jane Berger. And this is the first episode to start the fall 2026 semester. And since we just had an announcement last week about the author, I thought, Jane, we could take a possibility to take a little bit of time, maybe not the possibility, but take the time to talk a little bit about the author, because we may have some people who don't know yet. Exactly. So, Jane, I'm going to let you, I'll do the drum roll, and I'll let you give the book and the author, and then we can chat a little bit about it. All right. When my drum roll.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay, ready?
I know, I can't roll by ours, so I'm glad you did that. So, right here in yellow, it is a field guide to climate anxiety, and then there's a subtitle. I won't tell you all of that. You can read that on your own. By Sarah Jaquette Ray, and she is an instructor. She was a college professor. I'm not sure if she still is, but it's a great. There's so much in this book. There's so much in this book. It'll be great for students. It'll be great for instructors. Instructors can just extract a little bit to present to their students. Their students will thirst for more. We know it. And then they can read beyond that.
Yeah, I'm excited because this is kind of outside of something that we have done. And being someone who's really humanities focused, which this still lends itself to humanities focus, but there is the hard science around climate change. And then there is the way in which we look at it as humans.
Yep. And that's what's nice about this book is she covers both of those aspects. She talks a lot about the science behind it, and even like the business aspect too a little bit. But she does delve into the social and emotional parts of it. It's all wrapped up in one. You can't separate. Well, I'm only going to talk about just the facts, because you just can't. Well, maybe you can if you're a science person, but I'm not. That's not my gig. So I'm always attaching some emotionality to what I read, no matter what it is. But she does a really good job of balancing, I think, those three elements.
Yeah, she does. And the other thing that's really nice is it's a very nice teaching tool in a sense, and it's taken to yes, she is talking about climate change, but even reading it myself, I really find that a lot of it can be applied to teaching in general with students, because really one of the things she really dives into is talking about if there is something big in the way, how you can't get down to the curriculum without addressing whatever that may be. And so climate change, what's interesting about it, and I think this is really interesting to think about, and we're not giving too much away because this is in the introduction, so we'll just leave that there. But one of the things that she really spends time talking about is how what's unique about this generation of learners, whether they are, of this generation, Gen Z, or this generation of learners, have an interesting dichotomy within what they've experienced. When we went to school, didn't experience this looming necessarily threat of knowing that we would be affected in our lifetime.
Right.
That something, and I shouldn't say this because now as I'm trying to get it out, I'm like drastic. We have had a lot of drastic things in our, but to a point where if we don't act.
Right.
And they've never known a world without that.
Right.
Like there's a portion of the time that we grew up where that wasn't a concern.
Right.
Because I use this as an example for a lot of things, but it's very, very true. If anyone ever watched Mad Men, there is one of the scenes where they're out having a picnic, and this would have been in the 50s, 60s time, and they talked a lot about how they had or they didn't talk about it, but they showed you how they were having a picnic. They were laying on the blanket, and when they were done, all they did was lift up the blanket and leave the garbage there.
Yeah.
But that would have been common from that time
Yeah.
period. Like, I'm not sure that I really remember like the focus on recycling until I was like a teenager, and even more so in my 20s than, yeah.
I'm thinking, as you're saying that, I'm whirling in my head, recycling. So I'm a good bit older than you. My parents were products of the Depression. So my family recycled before there was a word for it. I mean, we reused foil. My mom washed out baggies, and we reused them. And the big joke in our house is her heirloom silver was actually plasticware, because I think she bought one batch, and we used to have big family parties, so we used plasticware probably, several times throughout the year.
Yeah.
We never threw it out. We had to wash that. We're like, oh my gosh, she's going to leave this to one of us in her will. I just know it. But that's how she grew up, and so I think many of that generation, it was a savings method, not necessarily a save our planet method.
Yeah.
And if only we had kind of stuck to that. And I do it now. Well, I don't know that I say foil, but I do rewash baggies, or I buy the ones that are reusable. So, I am going a little bit back to that, but we definitely had a period where that was not a consideration at all, because you didn't hear about it. There was no talk about it. So everything was great, and there was no reason to think that it was going to be any other way. But one thing I want to say before we go any further about our theme is that our themes come from our students. And while we get several ideas from them, which we're very grateful, keep them coming, we narrow down the ideas and then we put it out to everyone.
A vote on campus,
to vote on
and
the
our
theme.
external
Correct.
individuals. Yeah.
Yep. And so this is the one this year that came out.
Well, yes, and I remember because when I looked at it, I got the results from institutional research, and I was like, you're not going to believe what 40% of the voters voted for. And I was like, okay. And what was great too is we had that write-in portion, so there was other, we have ideas for
a lot.
next,
A lot of ideas.
20 years.
Exactly.
Which is great, and it wasn't things that we've already explored.
Right.
So that was fabulous. And then, just narrowing down the book after that, someone who is affordable that can come and talk and, has something to say to help us think differently about it. And so I think one of the things is our learners are already there. It's going to be, I think, a little bit harder for some of us who are a little bit older to understand the interplay with that and how that's going to connect what we do. But it is funny, once we dive into a book, I always feel like I start thinking very differently about how I do something, and I'll be like, oh, is this sustainable? And so I'm literally have been reading certain things before I purchase them, and is this biodegradable? Which I think is super great because it's having me think a little bit differently. Now, I mean, we have I can't remember a time in our lives when the Hazel household hasn't recycled.
Yep, same for us.
But and that is just a small portion.
Even when it wasn't curbside, we did.
Well, it isn't for us
where
we are.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to drop it at the Kroger's.
Yep, we had to go to the fire station. And it's heartwarming to see how many people do, because when we did it, I mean, it was always full. Always.
Actually, it's like you can't get prime parking over there at Kroger's to drive.
Right, that's exactly the way it is. I mean, there's a traffic jam on the weekends in the fire station parking lot because there's 5 or 6 cars pulling in and more pulling out, more want to pull in, and again, it warms my heart.
Yeah, and it's just such a small portion. I think one of the things that Jane, I'd like to talk about is a few things that we are going to have this semester. Like, one of the things is we already had the kickoff for faculty and staff. And honestly, Jane, I don't know that I ever thought about the idea of native plants, ones that we haven't already like messed with, which I think is so interesting.
Yep, I have created a rain garden in my past life, and I learned all about the importance of native plants then. And now it's funny because the neighborhood that I moved into is relatively new, and every tree that was planted by the township where I live is not native, and it just grinds my gears every time I come down. They're beautiful,
right?
But they're invasive. And I'm like, do they not know that? What's the matter with them? They need to come out and replace all of these trees. There's probably like 600 trees. I mean, it'll never happen. But I'm like, oh, why did they do that? Why didn't they talk to somebody from the metro parks? You know, it is funny how your thinking really gets shaped in a way once you learn a little bit more and what the benefits are of native plants as opposed to non-natives and such. So I know there's just so many different avenues we can go down with this theme.
Well, yeah, and I think really that's the power of the Big Read, is that it's a change. And you've changed, like, you and I have worked really hard since we had the 1 year with Stephanie Fu, to be very
mindful of
mindful of our words and stuff, and not using things like, and it's colloquial now to say this is crazy, but really what does it mean that you're saying? I know. So I think that that's so interesting, because now I'll be in the middle of going to say something like that, and I'll be like, wait, we are frantic trying to do it right.
Or it's so hectic. It's, it's not nuts. It's not, crazy. It's, oh my gosh, it's so hectic.
Yeah, and I think that's the power of it. And I mean, we work with it inside and out, but I know that other people have really had that too. I'm excited about our opening event. I think it's going to be really, really powerful. We have 4 different individuals from this campus who are going to talk about climate change from different perspectives. And so we have a biologist, environmental science individual, someone who is a philosopher. We also have a sociologist / anthropologist. And a counselor coming, and I think that it will be really great to see all those different perspectives and learn about what I'm really hoping people take away is understanding that it really is, it's not just a scientific thing. It is humanity and who we are. But with that, I can't believe we're already out of time, but it is you and I, and it could be however. But anyway.
And we know you want to hear us.
Exactly. So, but that'll do it for us today. On behalf of my co-host Jane Berger and myself, I'm Jen Hazel. Please keep talking big.
This has been Let's Talk Big on Outcast, OCCR, Owens Community College Radio. Listen Thursdays at 6 and 10 throughout the day, or at various times throughout the week. Catch Let's Talk Big anytime on the RSS feed or on YouTube at Outcom Plus. Be sure to like and subscribe. Join us again for Let's Talk Big with Jane Berger and Jen Hazel.